Dane shook her head. Not me. But if they take girls for that, maybe they'll let a girl be a hostler or work around camp and such. Her eyes were filled with painful hope. As it happens, they do let girls work as hostlers. Or at least they let me. I'm in charge of the horses for the riders. Oh, glory, the girl whispered. I'll do whatever you want if you'll take me on. Onawa put a hand on Dane's shoulder, touched by her eagerness. We'll see. If we don't get on, I'll make sure you have some kind of work. I won't leave you stranded. Sound fair? Dane nodded vigorously. Yes, Mistress Onawa. Onawa offered a calloused hand. Then shake on it. And stop calling me mistress. My name's Onawa. Dane returned the woman's firm grip. Onawa Chamtung of the Khmeri Rade. I remember. Onawa smiled. Very good. Now, will your Cloud mix in with the others? No reason not to. Dane removed packs and saddle from Cloud's back. Stow your things with mine. Onawa pointed to a canvas-covered mound in one corner. They'll be safe. These ponies are better than guard dogs. Dane ushered Cloud into the pen and stored her packs with Onawa's. She finished in time to stop Cloud from biting the yellow stallion, and then from kicking a blood bay mare. You behave, she ordered her pony. I mean it. Cloud flicked an ear back and lifted a hind hoof experimentally. Dane leaned down and whispered in her ear. The mare snorted, then stood on all fours, looking as innocent as a summer sky. What did you tell her? Onawa asked, letting the girl out of the pen. I said I'd sell her to the man that makes dumplings down the way. Onawa chuckled. That's the thread my mother used on me. Oh, look. I want you to meet my dog, Tahoe. She put her fingers to her lips and whistled two short notes. A large form surged over the rear wall of the pen and wound through the ponies, ducking hooves and teeth with the ease of long practice. Coming over the fence in another easy jump, he sat panting at Onawa's feet. He was as tall as his owner's hip and covered with curling gray fur. He's near big enough to be a pony himself. Dane offered her open palm. The dog rumbled in displeasure and warily sniffed her fingers. Tahoe means ox in Khmer. Careful, he's a one-woman Onawa shut up. Tahoe's plumed tail had begun to wave. The wary guardian of her stock turned into an eager-to-please pup that licked Dane's hand, then stood to sniff her face. He's supposed to be a guard dog, Onawa continued, frowning. Not a pet. Not a dog who believes every human is his friend. Don't blame him. Dane looked up at Onawa apologetically. Her fingers scratched Tahoe in a place he couldn't reach, while his tail thudded in the dust on the ground. Animals just take to me is all. Can you spare her majesty? The woman said to Tahoe. I'd like to get some grub, saving your presence. And your new friend is coming with me. Guard. She steered Dane away from the pen. At one of the cook tents littering the fairgrounds, Onawa ordered a rich meal for them both. When it was over, they explored. After a while, Dane's eyes hurt from staring so much. Coming from a poor mountain village, she couldn't believe the variety they found at every turn. So how are you fixed for gear? Her new employer asked. She was eyeing a pair of boots in a leather worker's stall. I'm fine, Dane assured her. Meeting the Khmer's warning look, she insisted, Really? It was too wet. She swallowed, trying to speak as if it was someone else's farm that was attacked. Too wet for our place to burn much, so I saved a lot. Clothes, boots, my sleeping gear. I really don't need anything. Seeing the woman's gray-green eyes remain suspicious, she raised a hand. Swear by the goddess. All right, then. Just remember, it's my responsibility to keep you decently clothed and outfitted. I don't want people saying I'm a skinflint. Dane thought of the huge meal she had just consumed. Just point them out to me, and I'll set them straight, she offered. Onawa chuckled. Good enough. On their return, the Khmer raised a sleeping platform outside the pen. We'd best turn in, she advised. We leave an hour before dawn. Dane laid the bedrolls out, wriggled into hers, and took off everything but her shift under the sheltering blankets. Onawa? The woman was nearly asleep already. Yeah? Thanks. They had a cold breakfast, fruit, cheese, and bread. Onawa said little as they ate and packed. She split a pile of lead reins with Dane, indicating she was to connect half of the ponies into a string, while she did the same with the others. They worked quickly as the fair came to life and the air filled with breakfast smells. When the ponies were ready, Onawa placed their packs on the first animal in each string. Aren't you going to put her on a lead? Onawa pointed to Cloud, who stood free of the others, wearing only a halter and a cross expression. The mare snorted and shook her head. She'll be fine. Dane assured the Khmer. She's as good as a guard dog that way. You know best, Onawa said, dubious. Let's move 'em out. The Khmer led them away from the fairgrounds and the traffic coming in. They had reached open road when she called for a mid-morning break. Digging apples out of her pocket, she gave Dane one. You eat this, she ordered. I've more in a basket for the ponies. I should have warned you, by the way. I'm a real bear in the morning. It's no good talking to me. I'll only bite your head off. You didn't take it personally, did you? Dane had begun to wonder if the Khmer regretted hiring her. She smiled in relief. It's all right. Ma always says... Her lips tightened. Ma always said there was no living with me until lunchtime. You miss her, Onawa said gently. Dane twisted the stem off her apple. Her, Grandad, our farm. Her face was grim. They took my life, those bandits. I saved things, like clothes and food, but all my family was gone except Cloud. They wouldn't even have left her, except she was with me and we weren't there. She got to her feet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak of it, asked the Khmer. Dane nodded. Well, you have to, just to bleed off the poison from the memory. The girl shrugged. Well, it doesn't have to be today. She peered at the sun. We'll be at Cool Spring by noon. A village, good sized. Let's pass that before we stop again. If Onawa and Dane were now well awake, so were their charges. They fussed at every turn. Luckily, many who passed them were traders who knew mountain ponies. They kept a respectful distance. Only Cloud, who seemed to realize she would go into a string the moment she misbehaved, walked meekly beside Dane. The only time she offered violence to a bystander was when he, or she, was too interested in how well the strings were tied together. Dane worked on the ponies one by one, talking, pleading, cajoling. Repeatedly she explained why she wanted them to follow Onawa, without making a fuss. One after another the ponies listened as she appealed to their better natures. Some people would have said these creatures had no better nature, but, as Dane told Onawa, she found most animals listened if things were properly set out for them. Onawa had explained things to ponies and horses for 28 years without the success this 13-year-old was having. How does she do it? The Khmer wondered, fascinated. They're ponies, by all the gods. They're wonderfully clever creatures, but they don't think. Not the way people do. Past the village of Cool Spring lay a rest stop, one of the springs that gave the town its name, sheltered by elms. Picketing the animals, the two women sat down to a meal of bread and cheese. Tell me if you get tired, the Khmer ordered. I can go for hours once I get moving. I'm fine, Dane said. It was the truth. It was good to be in fresh air, headed away from the city. It's easier than it was coming all the way here. The roads were muddy, you know, the spring floods. Ever been to Korea before? Dane shook her head. Never saw a village bigger than Snowsdale till yesterday. She sighed. How can folk live like that, all mashed together? Onawa shrugged. City people. They're different is all. They look down their noses if you didn't grow up penned in. Getting to her feet, she stretched. Unless something goes wrong, we'll make Wishing Hollow by dark. We'll camp there. We're making wonderful time, thanks to you. Dane looked at her, baffled. Me? This is the fastest I've gotten clear of the fair in 6 years of trade. That's your doing. You must have the gift. Though I never heard of it being put to such a use. Dane laughed. Oh, please. I have a knack with animals, but no gift. Ma. She stopped, then made herself go on. She tried to teach me, but I never learned. I can't even start a fire, and gifted babies manage that. She was so disappointed. Wanted me to follow her path, I suppose. Onawa touched the girl's hair. Your mother will be proud no matter what path you take, Dane. I don't know you well, but anyone can see that. Dane smiled at her. Thanks. They sat quietly for a few moments, until Onawa remembered something. I saw you draw that bow of yours, but I don't know what kind of shot you are. Dane shrugged. I'm good. Mind giving me a demonstration? Dane got up and took her longbow from her packs. Name your target. The wood was warm from the sun and bent willingly for the string. She drew it a couple of times back to her ear, loosening her muscles. Looking around, Onawa spotted a fence that would serve. It lay well within the range of such a powerful bow, but it wasn't so close that Dane would feel insulted. Walking out to it, she fixed her handkerchief to a post with her belt knife and returned. How about 3 arrows?